Good morning, students. This week's assignment is from Chapter 6, which covers arrays. You're going to be asked to create the batting average program, which allows 8 entries from the user for 8 different batting averages, and it calculates the minimum, the maximum, and the average. I'm going to go over a similar program that covers arrays, but instead of user input, we actually have an array here. These are cities in the state of Michigan. So the array includes several cities from the state of Michigan, and then it's going to allow the user to input a city, and it's going to tell that user whether or not that city is in fact a city within the state of Michigan. As you can see, it's Boolean. It either is or it isn't, and the Boolean variable called foundit is set to false. So by default, it's set to false. So we need to create a true condition. So here's what we're going to do. We have an input from the user, which is enter city name. So they're going to make a choice, and then we have to determine whether or not that choice is in fact in the array. So we're going to write a loop for that particular array. So I'm going to start it right here, and I'm going to say for x equals 0. So what we're saying is, what we're going to do is we're going to start from the very end of the array, and we're going to count back, and it's going to keep looking until it sees whether or not the user input is in the array. So if x equals 0, 2, and we have a variable called city names, which is the variable, which is the array, okay? City names dot length, so the entire length of the array. And then we're going to subtract 1 every time it checks. So it's going to go to the entire length, and then it'll check the last item in the array, then it'll go to the second to the last item in the array, and so on until it gets to 0. Okay? So then I'm going to, I like to indent here. If city equals, whoops, if city equals city names dot length, so in other words, if it found it, oops, my spelling's off today. Okay, so if it equals one of the items in the list, okay, that becomes x. Then we're going to change foundit, which is by default false, to true. And then we'll end the if statement. And then we'll end the loop. Okay? So there's your loop. So for x equals 0, so it's going to count through the entire length of the list. And if city, which is a string variable, is equal to one of the items in the list, then change foundit from false, which is defaulted to true. So we can end that loop, and then we're going to have to create the code that will output whether or not it's true or false. So if foundit equals false, which it is by default, but if it equals false, then we'll do a system write line. System.console, sorry, dot write line. And then we'll create a string saying not a city in Michigan, period. And we'll close the string and close the parenthesis. The only other condition it can be is if false, is if foundit equals anything other than false. So we're just going to say, in fact, I am going to copy this line and just make a slight amount of changes. So copy that and then paste it here. So the only other condition we can say is that the city, if the city if founded equals false and the city is not in Michigan, otherwise the city is found. So we'll put just city found. Okay, and then of course we have to end the if statement again. And the sub is ended in the module's end. So let's see what happens here. Let's try this. So I'm going to save this as Michigan City in my VB folder. Okay. And then I'm going to run it. So let's try it. Michigan cities. And enter. So I'll enter a name. How about Detroit? Hit enter. It says city found. So let me try entering a city that I know is not there. I'll put Boston, and I hit enter, and it's, as you can see, it says not a city in Michigan. So this is a tutorial on arrays. The batting average is obviously a little bit different because the array is created by the batting averages that are inputted by the user. So it just creates an array. But other than that, there's a lot of similarities between the two programs. So this is the tutorial on Chapter 6, Week 1 for arrays. Thank you for watching.